Welcome, everyone, to the Flourishing Workplace podcast. My name is Connie, and I'm so thrilled to have Kristen coming all the way from Philadelphia. You know, there's a city I've always wanted to go to, and Kristen is an incredible resource when it comes to workplace and wellness, and I loved her the moment I heard her on a TEDx talk. I'm like, she is my flavor. I love that woman. Welcome, Kristen.
Gracious, Connie, thank you so much. And please come visit Philly anytime. It's a great city.
Well, you know, now this is a little off topic for just a moment, but whenever I think of Philadelphia, I think of Motown Philly, you know, by Boys to Men.
Oh, for sure. And they have a street named after them in like a little bit like Center City, South Center City. And it's on the way to one of my favorite restaurants. And every time I like drive down it, my husband and I sing the song. So yes, totally get you. Yep.
You know, that's wonderful. I knew I liked you. I knew it. Well, let's talk about this TEDx talk that you did. Tell the audience what it was about and a little bit of context around it.
I'd love to. So the one that you saw was actually a TEDx style talk, because as you and I talk right now, my TEDx, which is I was honored to give in May of 21 in South Lake Tahoe, California, has not been released yet, because one of the mysteries of TED is that it takes sometimes a while to get your video out into the wild. But I had the privilege of sharing the same idea, just in a little bit of a different format, at the virtual showcase for the Big Talk Academy with Trisha Brooke, of which I know you are a graduate as well, which is where I got to hear you speak. And so my idea is the same in both places. I just had more time in Tahoe. Trisha only gave me 7 minutes. Tahoe gave me 18. So I got to unpack it a little bit more. But the idea is that by using tolerance as the lens through which we interact with each other, we've actually flattened each other into caricatures instead of humans.
Wow, you need to tell us a little bit more about that. That is such an intriguing statement.
I'd love to. So I don't know, I'm 38, so I'm like an elder millennial. And as I was growing up in the 90s and aughts, I was constantly told to tolerate people. And that like we are, you know, the kind of the best thing you can get, you know, you don't agree with somebody, you have to tolerate them. Like it's a politeness thing. We were advocating for tolerance. And the issue with that is that tolerance is a passive idea. It means that you're never actually interacting with anybody's personhood. You can say, so like, let's say I didn't know anything about you, Connie, and somebody told me that you, I don't know, really like sloths. I don't care for sloths, but I will tolerate that you care for sloths. Now, I will not try to get to know you further than that. I will not try to find out why you love sloths. I will not try to do any of those things. I will just say, oh, there's Connie, there's the sloth lover. She is alive because I'm not allowed to kill her, but I'm not going to interact with her further. And obviously it's bigger things than that. This then manifested we combine that then with the incredible, delightful algorithms of social media, and we just keep fracturing into more bubbles where everybody outside that bubble is a flat caricature of a human instead of a full existing human. And so instead of seeing each other and interacting through tolerance, what I invite everybody to consider is instead to engage with inclusive, radical hospitality, which is the idea that we can all open up our lives and let some other people walk around inside of it and walk around in others. Now, this does not mean not having boundaries. And within a workplace, this is incredibly important. Doing life with people does not mean opening a vein and, you know, all of the kind of other things that we might say. I'm not inviting you to share your trauma with every single human being. What I am inviting you to do is to consider that everybody is their own version of human, and their way to human is just as valid as yours. And no matter what it is about them, there is a deep likelihood that you can learn something from them, that somewhere in their person, you have a point of commonality. This is not asking you to stay in a toxic relationship. This is not asking you to be in deep, authentic, you know, relationship with somebody whose ideology is calling for your death, for instance, but it's simply saying a recognition that everybody's a human, even if you deeply and violently disagree with them. We are still remembering that they are a human with dignity and worth innately to their humanity. And it's work to do this. It is work because it's hard. Not only because we've been programmed to do tolerance, but because tolerance is easy.
Tolerance is easy. Isn't that the truth? I find this so fascinating. Even when you said radical hospitality, that kind of shook me, that statement a little bit. That seemed very deep. Now, what you just said about this curiosity, seeing everyone as a human, which you're right, isn't that so hard? You think we have these wonderful ideals, and then we come to work and we're put in places where people are there, and we're like, okay, it's harder than I thought. This was harder than liking that Instagram post. It's so true. What do you mean by radical hospitality?
So I have been raised in a beautiful paradigm that you are to open your life to others, open your home, open your soul to clothe the naked and feed the hungry, and offer home to those who need it, offer welcome to those who need it. And that's been the framework I've lived my life through. And for a lot of my life, like, that was great. Like, we actually did, several people who were, without homes have stayed with us throughout my life. We've spent a lot of our lives, our entire family business paradigm is actually built upon that statement. We are an intentional second chance employer, for example, in our manufacturing arms. So a lot of that. And then I realized that truly what radical hospitality means is to open up your mind as well as your life, and to learn to listen to people. I say it all the time that my husband and I, when you look at the two of us standing next to each other, you can construct very easily that we had the same childhood growing up. We're both white, we both appear middle class, we are conventionally attractive faces, and we look good together. And then he'll open his mouth and you'll realize that he's not American. And you'll listen to him talk a little bit more and you'll realize that he grew up in Northern Ireland in the middle of their armed conflict. And I grew up in suburban America, where my biggest problem most days was that I was never going to meet Joey McIntyre. So we had really different childhoods. And that is just the tip of the iceberg in our differences. And if there is this much radical diversity within my marriage, how much radical diversity is there within your office that you could learn more about everybody by asking them questions and listening to them, not just waiting for them to stop talking, but listening to them. And then once you listen to them, opening up your mind to recognize that their worldview is theirs. And you could probably learn something from it. Try to see the world through their eyes for 30 seconds, 30 minutes, whenever. The more we open up our minds, the richer our human experience becomes.
The more we open up our minds, the richer our human experience becomes. That is a powerful statement. I hope that's in your TEDx.
I think it's at least one of the times I've talked about this.
Yeah, I'm sure this is something that you've talked about more than just a couple of times. It sounds like
times, yeah.
a work that you've been doing. Yes.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it and reforming it and playing with it for probably 15 years. And that's kind of the other thing when people ask me about giving a TEDx, they're like, how long did it take you to get one? I was like, well, I did the application in about a day, maybe honestly, even like a couple hours. And I landed my first one, but I've been in the process of writing, thinking, and developing that idea for 15 years. So I don't know how to answer your question in a certain way. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Well, and I even love that this has been a 15-year process. It even shows up in your own marriage. And one of the things that I've always wrestled with in the question of like chicken and egg kind of thing in belonging is, does my workplace create belonging for me, or do I create belonging for me? And when I'm hearing you share a little bit about this amazing concept of radical hospitality, opening your mind, it really sounds like an individual journey to me first. Or is it? Can you maybe let us know?
Yeah, my answer to chicken and egg stuff is always yes. But I think in terms of this question, yeah, because it's a discipline you make the choice to do. It's an intellectual posture and not an emotional reaction kind of in the moment. It's a consistent decision that you make, honestly, in my life, like all the time, to choose understanding and empathy over my own prioritization, to choose understanding, not agreeing with, condoning, endorsing. No, just understanding. And that process does have to begin with you. Now, if you're in an environment where everyone is doing that, or you're in a relationship where everyone is doing that, that becomes richer and quicker and you're more supported and all of those kind of things. But it has to be an internal discipline.
An internal discipline. Yes. I want to pass something on to you because I'd love to discuss. This is just something that's come to my mind in the last couple of days. You seem like you're always ready for a nice philosophical conversation.
Always. That's a PhD. So yes.
I was really thinking about that whole idea of when we hear, you know, that person, oh, that person treated you poorly. Well, they clearly have issues. It's them. It's about their issues. It's not about you. And I was kind of like being a little bit of a devil's advocate in my own brain the other day going, yeah, sure. I wonder, they probably do have issues. But clearly this is bringing up a trigger for me. Why is that bothering me? Why do I care? Maybe I also have an opportunity here to look inside myself too. I don't know if I'm crazy or if I'm going to get stones thrown at me, but I don't know what you think of that.
Yes. I always tell people never ask a sociologist what their opinion is, because you're going to get like, yes, it's possible. It depends. But I think this is an element, because I often agree with that. I often agree that especially if somebody is being hurtful to you, actively hurtful, it is usually more about their own internal baggage than it has anything to do with you. However, we all have to take accountability for our actions, our thoughts, our ideas, our behaviors. And so there are situations that I've been in where like 100% it was about them and I have no idea what I did. And like, that was okay. Well, clearly you decided I was something I am not, and I just have to react to that. But there's a lot of others, and those to me are the most painful. Like the ones where I'm like, I don't know what I did. I don't know how to fix this behavior. And most times then that is really, it's more that they decided who you were without giving you a chance to show them who you were. That's not the entire human experience of conflict, though. There are definitely times that it's a both and. There are definitely times. So the best tip that I love that your reaction was to go within, because that's always the answer. Check with yourself first. Is there a different way I could have handled this? Am I proud of how I conducted myself? Is there a growth point here? Is there and if you come to the conclusion of like, no, I just was kind of being a human and they took this radically in another way, just, wipe the dust off your feet and go, that was their thing. I bless them in their journey. And I ask the universe to take them, to a place of deeper healing and move on with your life. But in your internal analysis, you're like, oh, that was not a good move on me. Maybe you need to apologize. Maybe you need to seek therapy. Maybe you need to seek a coach. Maybe you just need to go, that was bad behavior. I'm not going to do that again, and move on. The thing you cannot do is dwell on either situation.
Yes.
Because then that's not productive. So process it, learn from it, move on. Don't sit on it and chew on it.
I love it. I love the perspective that you gave there. Again, I'm a huge fan of anyone who's a sociologist. I just think that it's absolutely amazing to talk these things through. And I think that this is where we need to make conflict normal. Instead of being so shocked and appalled, like, I can't believe that happened at work. Well, actually, if you put a bunch of humans together, there's going to be stuff. There's going to be stuff. Why are we shocked? And so what would you say, I think my last question would be, what would you say to belonging in the workplace, and how do we, I know you probably could talk for hours on this, and I can't wait for your book to come out if you've got a book inside you. But what would you say is in your experience and research, what creates belonging in your opinion?
A choice to create it. What we intend to do and speak out loud is a big part of what becomes. So if you as a leader want to create an inclusive workplace where everybody belongs, you need to decide to do that. You need to decide to do the work to do that, to listen to your employees, to know their intersections, to know your own, to understand who might be better or best to lead certain discussions, to put policies in place where no one is talked over, to put policies in place where, you know, there are consequences to harassing actions that are unilaterally shown, and that they understand that everybody makes mistakes, but fundamentally the priority is always someone's emotional and physical safety within your organization. And that's how we work through things together. So one of my favorite quotes of all time is from the Abbey brothers, where they say, decide what to be and go be it. And I am such a fan of just decide what to be. If you want to be a belonging workplace, then be it. Figure it out, do the work, because it's not going to just happen because you said it on a podcast. It's not just going to happen because you thought it was a good idea, but do the work to make it happen. And 90% of that is listening.
90%. It's a great stat. Kristen, this has been incredible. You are such a resource. I know that the times that I've spoken to you, I always leave our conversations much more just feeling like that was a rich conversation. I just had a really good meal. That's how I feel when I speak with you. And so I want to encourage all of our listeners. We're going to include how to contact you, your social handles in our show notes, but let's go be that. I like that. And it's probably going to be a little messy along the way. We won't get it right.
It totally is. It totally is going to be messy. But just like conflict, mess is part of human.
Mess is a part of human. Well, on that note, everyone, go be messy humans creating beautiful belonging. And I will see you all next week. And thanks again, Kristen.
My pleasure. Thank you.